just so you know, a quick reminder, we will be recording this session. So if you are not able to stay with us the whole time, we are going to try and keep to a time limit this evening. I know it's your Sunday evening. We don't want to take too much of your time, but if you do need to check out, or if you know someone who wasn't able to make it tonight, we will have this session recorded and up on our website within the next couple of days. And you can give us a call to locate that on our website if you need any help. Once again, thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening. Hope you had a great weekend. My name is Jessie Wachter. I am one of our global program advisors for Rustic Pathways. I've worked for the company for about 9 years now in various functions. I was formerly the director of our Tanzania operations, and I've run programs in 8 or 9 different countries for the company. So I am happy to work with you to find the best fit program. If you are new and just joining us, we're going to go through how to choose the best program since we're in our early enrollment period right now. And I'm also joined this evening by my wonderful friend and colleague, Maggie Lentz.
Hi guys, again, as Jessie said, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I, like Jessie, have done a few roles within our organization. For many years, I managed our program operations in Fiji, and now, like Jessie, I am a global programs advisor and have been lucky enough to run programs for Rustic Pathways in 7 of our countries. So between the two of us, we've certainly been a lot of places, and love and relish getting to find the right fit for our students.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've done any research at all, you may know that we are now running programs in 19 different countries around the world and about 100 different programs to choose from. So choosing a program can sometimes be a very overwhelming process. I personally don't know how you do it if you're starting from square one. I think it's a very difficult task. I personally want to go on all of these programs, and that is my goal before the end of my life, is to experience everything that Rustic has to offer, because we have hopefully something for everyone. That is our goal. You can kind of see an example of where we run programs here. This year we have 18 brand new programs coming in for 2017. Some of these programs we have run before on a case-by-case basis working with private schools. Some of these brand new to our repertoire. So absolutely give us a call about any and all of our programs. We are happy, as Maggie said, we've got an entire team here on the phones and via email and also via our chat widget on the website. Happy to help you with your process, finding that perfect program. We also have a brand new country this year, which is Nepal. We have run programs with a couple schools in Nepal, so this is not brand new to Rustic Pathways, but it is brand new to our summer offerings. We've got 2 really special programs that have come back with rave reviews for this country, so we absolutely invite you to find out more about these programs for next summer.
Great. So as Jessie said, it can be sort of a hard task to figure out what sort of program you want to go to, what country, and what your interests are. So we suggest sort of walking through the following 5 questions and determining what would be the best fit for you in traveling with summer 2017.
Yeah. The first question is, how far away do I want to travel? So obviously you saw the map that popped up there. We do have several programs located right here in the United States of America. We have a bunch more programs, a huge offering in Latin America, so a little bit closer to home, a 4 to 6 hour flight depending on the country. Dominican Republic, Cuba, Costa Rica, and Peru, all of those are located fairly close to home. It's not too far of a flight. There are no connecting flights, so it's a little bit easier, especially for first-time travelers. So that's a really easy way to sort of narrow down your options is, do I want to stay closer to home? Do I want to be in a domestic program or try someplace in Latin America? Perhaps you want to venture a little bit farther forward and go out to the South Pacific or Southeast Asia, India, Africa. Just a great way to kind of start your search process and see if you are willing to go a little bit farther outside your comfort zone, a little farther away from home. Definitely, we have some long flights involved in some of those Asia programs, or if you want to stay a little bit closer to home.
The next question that we suggest that y'all ask yourselves is, how far do I want to push my boundaries? And that can sort of be taken in a lot of different ways. So as you can see from this photo, some programs that we have are really off the map in terms of accommodation. So that's maybe a boundary that you may want to push. If you are looking to be tenting throughout much of the program, California Rush might be a great program for you this summer. If you want to stay in beautiful hotels, Wonders and Riches of Southeast Asia might be a better program for you. So in terms of accommodation, that's a question to ask yourself, and how far do you really want to push your boundaries. We do find that students do best on programs when they are willing to push their boundaries, but are sort of respectful of their own needs and understand within themselves what makes them a good traveler. So if you're someone who is terrified of spiders, you know, it might not be best for you to be in a tent for a couple of weeks. So that is just sort of something to think about as you're determining what program makes a lot of sense for you. And because we do have so many programs in each of our countries, you know, you may say, I really want to go to Costa Rica, but within Costa Rica, we do sort of have a range of options, from trips that are very rustic and sort of off the map with little to no electricity, to programs that are much more comfortable in terms of accommodation, and also in terms of our sort of service structures and what kind of projects you'll be working on. That might be a boundary that you're willing and excited to push as well. So that's a sort of multifaceted question, but one that I think is really important in determining the right fit for a student on a program.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Maggie. And I think it really goes to say each of these steps along the way, Rustic really strives to provide a range of programs, even within a country. So, like Maggie said, if there's a country like Costa Rica, we've got maybe 20 different programs on offer. And depending on your age, how often you've traveled, where you are in school, you may want to start with maybe an introductory program that is a little bit more comfortable in the accommodations, a little bit more familiar with the food, the service may be something you're very interested in, or something more broad scale, like it has several different types of service. So you can kind of explore your interests and find out really what makes you tick. And then as you move forward in your travels, as you become a sophomore and a junior, we actually have programs that start at age 12 and go all the way through seniors in high school and then on to college age students during the summer. So as you work your way through your travels and your own developing self, as we say, it may be just good to look at that progression and start with an introductory program, and then the following year you can work your way up and say, this time I'd do something a little bit more hardcore, maybe a backpacking program, maybe something a little bit more off the beaten trail. We have something for everybody.
Great. So another piece that you sort of might be interested in asking yourself is, what do I want to experience? We work hard on our programs to incorporate many, if not all, of these pieces onto every single program. We for sure incorporate things like cultural immersion, education, and adventure into all of the programs. The community service one is one that you may want to ask yourself about. How much do you want to do? What sort of is community service going to be the focus of your program, or is sort of a more adventure-based trip going to be the focus of your program? So the nice thing is, while our programs do answer all of these needs, they do so in sort of varying degrees. One tool that you may want to reference as you're sort of looking through the offerings of programs is, we do have a feature on the website where you can search programs by community service hours. So if you are looking to maybe do 10 hours of service over a week-long trip, that means that you are definitely getting in some good quality service, but you are also spending a lot of time doing cultural immersion activities, or learning bits of the language, or doing activity or adventure pieces, or cultural learning. So you're getting to, in an option like that, maybe not spend as much time on service, whereas we do have programs that have service hours of 50, 60, up to 70 hours worth of community service. So that's something to ask yourself, but again, we strive in every single program to answer these needs and provide these sort of experiences for our students.
Yeah, absolutely. I would go make a note as well. About 75 to 80% of our programs do have some sort of community service element, very important to us at Rustic Pathways. And we also have a brand new series called our Critical Issues series. This is something you can find on the website. We'll go over website navigation a little bit later in the presentation. But this is a fantastic new series, some really focused programs that have a very specific goal for the students, and something we're really looking forward to for next summer. And speaking of service, one of the questions that you should ask yourself is if you are indeed looking for a service program, which we fully support, there are several different types of service that we're focusing on, and that is education, infrastructure development, animal conservation, environmental conservation, and public health and social development. And some programs have a mixture of the above. Some programs have a very clear and defined focus. Something like education, where you're going to be working directly with students in a school. Nisibi, for example, in Fiji, is a school that we have built from the ground up with help from the local government. Maggie can definitely go into a little bit more detail about that program. Very popular program with students, and you're working directly with them in the schools, versus something like an infrastructure development program, where you're going to be building the actual school or building homes for those in need, working with your hands, getting dirty, mixing cement, very, very common and popular option for students.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessie. I would also just mention again, we'll keep sort of hitting back to the website because our web team works really hard to make our website informative as well as easily navigable, I suppose. But one place where you might want to look is, if you just visit rusticpathways.com, there's a Find Programs tab that will drop down. And over on the right-hand side of that drop-down menu, there's a By Interest category, which we find is really helpful for families and students as they're sort of determining what program really sits well with them. So if you were very interested in working with the environment, there's a whole slew of programs that are what we deem for environmentalists or first-time travelers or people who want to learn a language. So there is a really helpful resources there on the website for you as well.
Yep, absolutely. Students interested in the medical field, students interested in working with animals, even you can even search by the critical issues or by programs for college students, spring break programs. All of those are in subcategories, and that drop-down menu should help you narrow down your hunt.
Do I have any possible travel restrictions? This is a very important question to ask yourself, mostly because we take safety so seriously with Rustic Pathways programs. The safety of our students and our communities are deeply important to us. So sort of the first question you might want to ask yourself is, do I have any possible travel restrictions? And those can come in many shades, shapes, and forms, but one of the most common one are food or medical allergies. So for example, we do have quite a few students who are allergic to peanuts or other tree nuts, and we strongly recommend and often just do not allow students with that kind of limitation to travel to the very remote and rural parts of Southeast Asia where cooking with peanut oil is widely used. And we just feel that it's most important to, sort of set up our students on programs where they can thrive and succeed and have as little risk as possible in completing those programs safely.
Yeah, absolutely. And another common question is dietary restrictions. We have a lot of vegetarian students, vegan students, gluten-free students, any and all of the above. And absolutely feel free to reach out to us. Vegetarians can be, we do have vegetarian options for most programs. That is usually not an issue. Something like Mongolia, for example, is very, very meat-heavy diet and very remote. So that may be a challenge for vegetarians, but something a little bit more intensive like vegans or gluten-free, feel free to reach out to us, and we do our best to accommodate the students. But again, as Maggie mentioned, we want to make sure that students are healthy and eating well, and given the nature of cultural and different cuisines around the world, we may feel it's better to look for a program in another country. So we will, like I mentioned, have time for live questions and answers at the end of the session. We are not going to go into detail for specific programs, such as what is the gender breakdown for July 8th currently registered, or what do we do on day 4 of the elephant program in Thailand. But we will try and cover as many general questions as we can. Here, before we go into the live question and answer, common questions that we do here every single day, and hopefully many of you have tuned in for. And one of the questions is, Maggie, what are our most popular programs?
That is a question with not a simple answer, Jessie. This question we get a lot, which can vary by answer. The answer I tend to give is the most popular programs are the ones that are best for you. So as we said, it is very important for a student to sort of be aware enough of who he or she is to self-select programs that are appropriate for that student. In terms of programs that sell out, the vast majority of our programs do sell out and sell out well before the summer. That question again is a little bit difficult just because we do have limitations on the number of students that we can have on certain programs. So some programs have small capacities such as 8 to 10 students. Some programs we can take 25 or 30 students per session. So it is hard to give a straight and easy answer to that question. But I think very much so the goal of choosing a program is a program that is right for you rather than the one that most people are going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a really good note to make. If you see on the website, every single program page is going to have listed on the right side every single available session. It's going to be color coded, and it's going to say whether it's completely available, whether it's going to be limited, very limited, or sold out. Limited usually means 3 to 5 spots, very limited, 1 to 2 spots, and then obviously sold out would be unavailable. That being said, that session may have had an eligibility of 10 students total. So it's sold out even before the end of our early enrollment session, whereas another program has 25 spaces available and it has 18 students signed up. It still shows as available, but doesn't mean that it's not as popular. It almost has twice as many students registered. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at programs. Even though it says available, it may just mean that it has a higher capacity of students. And we also have different numbers of sessions. So some programs will run 8 weeks long. Some programs only have 2 sessions available. So that's something to keep in mind when looking at what is available. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is more popular or less popular.
One thing too I'll note here, Jessie, is a lot of times particularly once we sort of move into the new year in January and February, when a lot of sessions and programs are sold out, we get feedback from parents asking us to add one more student or a pair of friends onto a program. And we do have limitations that are not only Rustic Pathways limitations, but very often limitations by our community partners or sort of the operating standards of the country where we're working. So I know from firsthand experience, the Pacific Adrenaline program in New Zealand, we book out a plane and for our students, and that means we cannot take more than 10 students on that trip. So a lot of times those limitations are hard and fast, and we do our best to fit as many students comfortably onto a program that is responsible and ethically responsible also for our communities. So there's a lot of thought that goes into those capacities, and we do our best to make sure people find the right fit. But that does just hopefully encourage people to sign up early if you know what you want.
Yeah, and are there programs that you recommend for first-time travelers? Absolutely. And again, actually a link on the website you can click for first-time traveler programs. We recommend there is a series that we call our Young Explorers programs, and these are specifically for 12 to 14-year-olds, our early travelers or younger travelers, those who have less travel experience or just getting into the international travel experience without their families. These programs are specifically designed with this age group in mind. They have usually a combination of cultural immersion, adventure, service, touring, everything to kind of get the student ready for a leap into international travel in a responsible way. We have guides that are specifically trained for these programs, and it's an excellent way for students to kind of get an idea of who they are as a traveler, as a global citizen, and where they may want to go in the future. We also have base house programs, and Rustic Pathways owns and operates several base houses around the world. These are properties that we own and manage year round. We run programs out of them. They have very comfortable accommodations. We oftentimes have our own chefs, our own cooks that work for us, that have worked for us for many, many years. So we are used to creating meal plans for students that come from around the world. A little bit more, a little bit easier to jump into, a little bit more comfortable, more familiar for students to kind of get their bearings and get their international travel feet wet. And Maggie, if I'm 14 years old or if I'm 18 years old, how can I ensure that I'll be traveling with students my own age?
Great news, you can't. You are certainly welcome as the summer nears to call us and ask us about the age breakdown on a particular program or session. But we do very little in terms of monitoring the ages of students on a particular session. As Jessie said, we have 100 programs and multiple sessions of each of those. And so typically programs almost look sort of like a perfect bell curve. I would say in my experience that it is highly likely that there will be a couple of 14-year-olds, a couple of 18-year-olds on a program, and most everyone in between is 15, 16, or 17. We do have specific programs that are, as Jessie said, for younger students. We do have programs that are restricted to 16 to 18 or 15 to 18, so you can sort of get a good sense of age breakdowns there. But we do this specifically because we sort of love what can be created between students who often don't interact with each other in a school setting of different ages, but on a program they can really learn from each other. Between the two of us, Jessie and I have run over 100 sessions of programs with teenagers, and so we're looking at 2+ years worth of time on the ground with high schoolers. And in my experience, and Jessie, please correct me if I'm speaking for you too much, but it's a really neat thing to watch a 14-year-old bond with a 17-year-old in ways neither of them expected that they would. And I find that travel really is just sort of the great equalizer. Oftentimes that 18-year-old is much worse at handling, a spider running across the floor at breakfast than a 14-year-old is. So it's interesting to see how students can learn from each other and create these bonds that sort of break the mold that they're forced into at school.
100%. I think this is, again, a very, very common question, and I think it's a concern for both students and parents, and we understand why. I think when you're in high school, you have that delineation. I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I'm a junior, or I'm a senior, and I think you really are taught to live by that. And as Maggie said, travel is the great equalizer. You're all thrown into this very unknown reality. You're in a new country, you're in a new language, you're with new friends. Everything is brand new, and you're all experiencing it at the same time. And it can be a real bonding experience. You are older, you're gonna boost up the younger students and help them along the way. And those younger students can really take the chance to kind of stand up and be a stronger person than they were expected to be as a freshman in high school. Now they're just one of the team. And I've absolutely been amazed at how a group can come together. And our staff are actually trained to develop that group dynamic in a way that you would be surprised could take place in 1 or 2 weeks. So if this is really something that's very important to you, want to travel with students your own age, we do have some programs specifically for older students or younger students. The vast majority of our programs are open to students of any age so that they can really choose a program by their interests and not by necessarily their age group. And what about the average gender ratio for these programs?
This again can vary program by program, certainly, but the average breakdown across all of our programs tends to be about 35% boys, 65% girls. That's sort of the ratio that most programs hover around. Of course, that can change even on program within sessions. As Jessie said, a lot of programs have multiple sessions, and over an entire summer, that ratio can change quite dramatically throughout the summer. So the average is about 35 to 40% boys, and the rest of them girls.
Yeah, and that's again something that you can give us a call if it's really important for you. If there's ever one gender, if there's one student of a gender, if there's one boy and the rest of the group is female, or one female and the rest of the group is male, we will absolutely reach out to you and make sure that you are aware of that and that you're comfortable with that, and you can change if not. But if it's something where there's 3 or 4 boys and the rest are girls, or vice versa, that's something that our guides are trained to build that dynamic, and that's just going to be the way that gender breakdown happens on that program. But feel free to give us a call later in the spring if you are curious about the breakdown of the students' gender or age ratio, and we can give you a better idea once we get a little bit closer to the summer. Keep in mind also, we do have a couple periods during the year when we see a lot of changes take place. So if you call us in November, or if you call us in February and get an idea of who's in a program, if you're trying to base your decision off of that, we can still see a lot of changes take place throughout the spring. So it's better, if you are going to look into that, to give us a call quite a bit closer to the summer to get a real idea of who's going to be traveling on your trip. Now you're asking, how do I sign up? Once you have gone through this entire process and you've whittled down 100 different programs to possibly 2 or 3, and you've given us a call and you've found the exact perfect fit for you, which I'm sure, I have no doubt this will happen for you. The next question is, how do I sign up? And it's a very easy process. You're going to do this all on the website. There's a button in the top right-hand corner that says Enroll Now. You're going to fill out a quick little application. You have 2 different options for payments. You can either pay in full or pay in installments, and all of that will be on the website there, very clear. We can also go through that with you on the phone. And once you submit your application, it will take a couple days to process. Usually you'll automatically receive an email letting you know that you have reserved your spot, you are in, and then within a couple days your application will be processed and you will be contacted by one of our fabulous PTAs.
Our PTAs are so fabulous, as Jessie said. PTA stands for Personal Travel Advisor in the Rustic Pathways sense. And so this is someone who you will be linked with just a couple days after you enroll online. And your PTA will follow up with you by email with a whole slew of information for you, including an online medical form and flight information and bits and bobs like that. But more than anything, your PTA is your resource throughout the year, getting you ready to travel. So we have a team of office staff who are dedicated just to working with families and students and getting our students ready to travel. So if you, a couple months before travel, think to yourself, oh, I can't find the packing list, where do I need to look? Email your PTA, they'll be happy to help you with all of that information. So they're such a wonderful resource and a real, absolutely easy to go to person for our families.
Yeah, and just so you know, this picture is actually a picture of several of our PTAs. This is our office in Ohio. This was late spring, and all our PTAs were eagerly awaiting the arrival of summer, and so they were hoping that by posing like it was summer, they would make it true. But they're an absolutely wonderful group there to answer any and all of your questions as you proceed through the process and on to your summer travels. And right now, we are in what we call our early enrollment period. This is a special period for both new students and alumni. It begins mid-August. I believe it began the 15th of August, and it runs through the September 12th. This is when any student that is registering is going to receive a discount, and it depends on how long you've been traveling with Rustic Pathways, but brand new students will be receiving a 15% discount. There's nothing you need to do or let us know. It'll be automatically applied to the application if you do enroll before midnight on September 12th. So that's something to keep in mind. The wonderful thing about this early enrollment period is that you then have until January 15th to change your mind. So we realize it's a very, very early commitment. A lot of people say, you know, we've just finished the summer, the students are super busy getting back into school, everything's kind of jumbled up, but if you can just submit your application, if you know you want to travel in 2017, get that application in, take advantage of that 15%, and then you have until January 15th to either cancel for a full refund minus the application fee, everything else will be refunded, or change your program as you get a little bit closer and you have a better idea of the summer. You can make any change for no charge up until January 15th. So you have quite a bit of time to really set that decision in stone. So that is the end of our presentation, and we hope to see you in 2017. We have spring break and summer programs. We have a lot to offer. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are now going to turn the table over to you and do some questions and answers live. Again, if we don't get to your specific question, if you have a very specific question about a particular program, we're happy to go over that in the coming week. Tonight we will answer some general questions that may be applicable to all, and then we just again thank you for joining us for our presentation.
Great. Jessie, I have a question here from Emily about booking flights. How do we do flights with Rustic Pathways?
Great question. So we do have a travel information page. If you go under resources on the website, you can look for travel information for every single individual country. Rustic Pathways does book all international flights for our families. We have hub airports. So what is important to note is when you're looking at your program, next to the cost of the program, there's going to be a plus airfare link. If you click on that link, it will give you the cost of the international flight. And if you click on that, it'll actually take you to a full page that will describe what airline we use, where's the hub airport, etc. You as a family are responsible for getting the student to our hub airport, and that depends on the country to which you're flying. USA program is a little bit different. We will give you the time to arrive in the hub airport, and you will manage your own airfare. But for all international flights, we do book the airfare. The students fly together as a group with a chaperone, and we have airport coordinators, everything on the ground to kind of make this a very easy process for students, especially students who are traveling for the first time. Make this a very smooth process, give you all the information that you'll need, and they will travel safely with one of our chaperones. There are actually multiple chaperones on every flight to get them safely there.
Great. Zachary has asked about our application fee. Every program will have, or enrolling in any program will incur an application fee or an enrollment fee. That is a $100 enrollment fee, and that is the same if you sign up today or in November. We do tend to have a late season enrollment fee increase in the springtime. That is usually goes up to about $200. So every time you enroll, or every child that you enroll needs to have a separate enrollment online, and that will again incur that $100 enrollment fee.
Yeah, and just to note, as Maggie mentioned, there's a late season fee. It's because there's quite a bit more involved at that time when we're preparing our staff and students for travel. So we do encourage families to sign up before about March-ish is when that application fee usually goes up to about $200. And that application fee is a one-time fee. So if you are one of our alumni tuning in, there is no application fee for our alumni. You are already in the system. This really serves to get you in the system, to set up a portal, all of the stuff that goes on in the back end to get you ready and in our system so that you are set to go and you can receive all of the information that you need coming up.
Great. Let's see. We have a question here from Ella, I believe, asking about financial aid. We do have scholarships available for students. That application will open in October. Again, under resources on the website, you'll be able to find, not under resources, under how it works, there's a drop-down menu that will take you to a financial aid page, and that will sort of walk you through our scholarship, our service scholarship, as well as the gap year scholarship that we offer. We also offer something called a teacher appreciation program, and that offers discounts to students who have at least one parent who works full-time for an educational entity. So be that a principal or a teacher or a soccer coach or a janitor, as long as you get a paycheck from educational institution, then you would qualify for that. We also have a really great fundraising guide under the financial aid information.
Yes.
I really try to refer students to that because it gives a lot of great advice and insights into start raising money for your program as well. So that can be very helpful for students too.
Yeah, and I just want to note we highly encourage students to fundraise. I have found that students tend to be a lot more personally invested when they know how much goes into travel. When you've done some of your own fundraising, or if you've got a job during the summer, it's just something to look into. We do provide this excellent resource for you to kind of look into ways that you can add to your own travel fund.
Jesse, we have another question here from Randy about asking for references. We are absolutely happy to provide your family with a reference of a family or student that traveled last summer. So if you are wondering, I want to hear firsthand experience of someone who traveled to Mongolia, we are happy to put you in touch with that person who has agreed to be a family reference for us this year. So again, please call or email into us next week and we are happy to put you in touch with them. All right, let's see, other questions. That looks like about it. There are a few other questions that we'll just answer individually and get back to you guys by email that are sort of more specific, not particularly general for this webinar.
Yeah, but just as a note, if you do want to refer back to this recording or any of our other recordings, we have recordings specifically on different regions of the world. We actually have a wonderful recording done by our Director of Safety and Risk Management on our safety procedures and policies. If this is something that interests you, go ahead and go to www.rusticpathways.com/recordings, and you can find all of our previous recordings and look through that resource for you if there's anything that interests you. This particular recording should be up in a couple of days, and please feel free. There's a number there. My name's Jessie. You've been hearing from Maggie tonight. Give us a call, give us an email, and we will be happy to work through these with you before that September 12th deadline. Once again, thank you so much for joining us on your Sunday evening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.